Hey guys, it's me, Kschris. Today is December 25th, 2025, and I just want to say Merry Christmas to you all. And I decided to go for a little run. I'm here staying at my parents' for a few days. And I said, I'm going to go for a run. I just want to take in this holiday season and just go out for a run and just feel good outside and just keep running until either my legs fall off, or I get way too bored, or I have to go number 2 and there's nowhere else to go, so I have to just run back home. Anyway, so I went for a run and the weather was just nice and cool and chill. And next thing I know, I just started thinking about all kinds of stuff in my life, about what's happened this past year. And next thing I know, 1 mile, 3 miles, 5 miles, 7 miles, 9 miles. Next thing I know, I said, you know what, why don't I just run? And I just decided to run half a marathon. So that's 13.1 miles. And I had so much to think about. I had so many things that have happened in my life this past year. And I'll openly admit that this year had to be one of the hardest years for me, career-wise, professionally, relationship-wise. It's just been really hard. And I totally thought and expected, and here's the most important part, I expected it was going to be the best year yet, with investments, acting, career, job, money, all kinds of things. And it turns out that it wasn't. It was so hard. And the reason why this year was so hard was because these expectations changed something in me. I started to lose the fun, the joy of a lot of things. And next thing I know, I started to quantify happiness based on achievement, success, based on material things and other things that really don't last, right? And I started to notice how toxic it was in my life when I would go on these trips to Hawaii to visit family, or these just moments where you should expect to be happy, and I wasn't. And all I could think about was those times was, why aren't these things happening for me? I've been working so hard. Why doesn't this equal this? And these expectations started to take the joy out of the small things. And it got to a point where I didn't realize that I was starting to lose the value in myself. And I know it sounds easy to looking back at it, thinking, oh, you know what, it was this, it was that. But during that time, I couldn't see it because I was so focused on my own shit, and because it was starting to take away from my own life and who I thought I was and the value in myself, my relationships started to give more to me, and it started to take more from them. And instead of me being the person I could have been to all these people, I just started to sink away in my own way, and it was just turned out to be very bad. Now, one of the greatest highlights of my life this year is all the things that didn't work out. I bought a BMW at the beginning of the year, an X5 M Series, and in just a month and a half, I lost my government job. I had to sell it. I thought acting was going to go a certain way. It didn't work out. But in the midst of all these things that happened, I found so much more truth to myself, and I was confronted by my loved ones, my acting coaches, my best friend, and now my wife, which I got married, which is a whole nother story in itself. I just want to tell you about this thing. It's just, I got faced with a question: if all these things happen, does that change the value of who you are as a person? And then I had to think about that. Does that change the value of who I am as a person? And I started to really think about how I've displaced what my value is. I displaced where I found joy and what makes things fun. And what did I do it all for, At the end of the day, on this run, I realized that over the course of the year that you can be so focused on the things that you want and the goals that you want to achieve that your value starts to shift. And instead of finding the value of who you are as a person and why you do what you do and all those things, you can easily get lost. And if you're like me, it takes quite a bit of time and some really hard moments of realization to realize that the problem is with no one else but you. And I realized that the problem was me, and I started to take ownership of those things. Things started to lift. And someone once told me that in many ways, when you start to take those kinds of responsibilities, that the pressure comes off of you, it gets lifted, and then you start to see things differently. In short, as much as this has been some of the hardest times in my life, this has actually been the most rewarding and most fulfilling times of my life. I got married to my best friend, Stephanie. I love you. Thank you for everything. Thank you for being a rock in my corner. Thank you for just telling me I'm acting a little too hormonal and you just need to calm down, be happy. Everything's gonna work out. We're together and everything's gonna be good. Thank you. To my best friend, Joe, who's just been steady and reminding me of what value is, reminding us of the good old days. To my acting coaches who told me hey, Kschris, you need to start believing in yourself, because if you don't, nothing else is gonna happen for you. I was like, shit, that's real. So my friends at A-Side Jiu-Jitsu, just keeping it real and helping me realize that nothing could be more present than someone possibly choking you out. That's freaking real. To my parents, my sister, Drew, little crew, I couldn't be more grateful that you guys look at me first as a family member and as a person, rather than the things that I achieve and I don't achieve. I love you guys, and I couldn't do it without you guys either. So what's the point of this video? The point of this video is really simple. I went for a run. I thought about a lot of the shit in my life. I realized this year was really on me, and I got to change things. So this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do. In this next coming year, I'm going to start focusing on not the person who receives, but the person who becomes. And what that means is there are things that I want in life, things I want to achieve, but I also, most importantly, want to be the person that can handle those responsibilities. One day I'm going to be a father. One day I'm going to be doing big things in acting, in business, in jiu-jitsu, my friends. And whether any of those things happen, I know that if I can become the best version that I can in all of those things, that value is not placed on the things that I achieve or don't achieve. At the end of the day, God is good, all is going to work out. And it's going to be much better only because I'm doing it for the right reasons, and it starts with here. Lastly, I just want to point this out. While I was running, I was thinking about being in Korea a couple of years ago. I think it was 2017, so that's about 8 years ago. That's wow. 2018, I remember being in Korea, and I just remembered wishing so bad, all alone in Korea, doing a job that was just truly hard, the sacrifice of that job and the career, being in the military, and just wishing with everything inside of me that I could just come home. Just come home, see my mom, see my dad, see everybody. I just wished so bad that I wanted to do that. And as I was running and I'm listening to the music, I'm praying, I'm meditating, and just putting it all together, I just thought to myself as I was running, how grateful, how blessed I am that as I'm running home. I'm running home to my mom, to my dad, to my wife, to my sister, to my brother-in-law, to my godson crew. And now I get to be home. And this is it. I'm home. So with that being said, I just want to share this last thing with all of you guys. Don't be like me. Get so busy trying to achieve, count the dollars, track all the numbers, that you start to lose yourself and you start to forget why it's fun. Don't be like that. I haven't figured it out, but I'm on my way. So until then, I miss you guys, love you guys, chat soon, bye.